Hey, all. Welcome to this week's episode of the Sith Justice Warriors podcast, where we talk movies, comics, anime, gaming, and everything under the twin suns of Tatooine. Off topic, but we do want to give a first shout out. We want to express our condolences to the family of Kobe and Gianna Bryant. If you heard in the news, you follow sports, that Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna unfortunately passed today in a helicopter crash. There's a bit more news kind of coming out in terms of those that were involved, and I just think it having being a sports fan, Kobe Bryant was the ultimate. They call it like these. They the term an assassin, where he just wanted to win and he would do anything to kill the other team, not within the rules of the game. And he was a guy to. It was a good guy to hate in terms of sports, but you never want to see someone at like the age of 41 pass before the end of before having a long life, especially with his daughter who was 13 as well. So I got Lumpia here. So Lumpia,
Yeah.
any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I I grew up a Lakers fan because of my dad, and while I wasn't like an extreme Kobe fan, I appreciated his athleticism, and I know he was in the news for, a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, you can't deny the contribution he made when he was, you know, playing, when he was in the league. And so it's funny because I was literally, talking with you, Fan, and mentioning that LeBron had just surpassed Kobe in terms of all-time scoring points on the Lakers. And I made the comment and said, Kobe's been on that team forever, and for LeBron to surpass his point totals, that's insane. And then, Sirius broke the news to us that the news reports had Kobe Bryant dying in a helicopter crash, and it was just unreal. And even Sirius, who isn't with us today, but you know, he was just like, at first I thought it was a lie and it was a joke. And I think a lot of the news outlets did at the time of the reporting, because a lot of them held off on reporting this story. Um, and unfortunately, it was true. So I agree with you. I mean, it's sad, especially at his age. He retired, um, on his career at a high note for himself, and probably just went on to enjoy the rest of his life with his family. And it was nice that he could do that at the age he did that. I mean, you read a lot of players who, have to retire because of injuries, and they are still suffering from them, like a lot of the football players out there, who suffer from a lot of concussion related injuries that they're still dealing with today. I even heard rumors that Drew Brees might retire. So, like, things like that, it just makes you, realize, the athletes you watch on the TV, they are human too. So, anyway, I digress. Fan,
Yeah, a little bit different from what we normally talk about, but I think there's probably a lot of audience members out there who do have their sports teams, and it's I loved to hate him as a player because he was always against my team, but it doesn't take away the human aspect of it. Again, he's had his imperfect moments as a person, as a man, a father, husband, or whatever. But you know what? He is a person, and you never want to see someone go at the age of 41 so soon.
Yep, yep. But
Right.
yeah,
So
Fan, what do you have for us this week?
normally we hit with the headlines that we kind of fast track through, but I think let's just spend our time on one topic. We were talking about delays, mostly about the video game delays, and we did mention the possibility of the delay with the Hawkeye series as well. But I think pretty much shortly after that, there was the news percolating about a specific show on Disney Plus, potentially getting a delay. It's in the Star Wars universe. It's a little known character named Obi Wan Kenobi to be played by Ewan McGregor. And I think it's time that, especially the fact that when it first came out, the news, it was a bit different from what the news is reporting now. So we've got on our descriptions part, we've got an article from GameSpot, an article from IndieWire, just describing the reporting about the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show delays. So now they're saying the shootings until 2021. I think, Lumpia, you're going to talk about your thoughts, but I also am curious about your thoughts about a YouTuber named Grace Randolph. Probably a lot of you folks listen to her. She's got really good connections, and she had a perspective about the news she broke when she broke it to her audience and how the mainstream media sort of changed the tune. So let me stop. Lumpia, go.
Yeah, so at first when I heard it, I actually did read the article that we posted, basically saying that it was delayed because a lot of the story broke that a lot of the crew was sent home. Nothing more, nothing less. Then later on in the week, we found out, it's actually delayed till 2021. I think either Ewan McGregor or Disney Plus representatives had said, it's kind of delayed till, for a year because, Kathleen Kennedy was not happy with the script. And I was trying to figure out what exactly was she not happy with, because, I guess I had always thought they were going to source a lot of this Obi Wan show from the book. So there was a standalone, book in the Star Wars novels that is related to Obi Wan, and I thought that a lot of it was going to come from that source material. Come to find out that it actually, I guess, was going to involve him mentoring, raising Luke Skywalker. Not necessarily raising, because Luke was raised by his uncle and aunt, but basically that sort of connection with him and Luke, which, to be honest with you, when you think about the movies, he didn't really have any involvement with Luke growing up, or you didn't get a sense that he did, because Luke always said, oh, it's like Obi-Wan the Hermit. Not necessarily in those words, but he was known as a hermit on Tatooine. He was like, oh, I know who that is. I've heard of his name. He's a hermit. So, thinking about it in those terms, I didn't think that Obi-Wan had such a big influence on Luke's life from childhood. It was more so in his later years, his late teens, early 20s. So I really thought that this show was going to focus on Obi-Wan's life after the whole situation that went on with Anakin. And I thought that we would get glimpses of this, the connection to Luke, but not necessarily that it would be the whole story centered around it. Because again, like I said, if you think about the movie Star Wars, it was something that he was just oh, I know that. It was never oh, he's my mentor. We have a good relationship. It was almost like they started to know each other through the training, through the situation that they kind of fell into. So like I said, he's oh, that's Ben Kenobi. So yeah. So when I found that out, I was kind of oh, so that's why supposedly Kathleen was not happy with it, because it was just so similar to The Mandalorian. But I don't even know where they're going to go at this point. So in my mind, I'm a little concerned. I am concerned about, and it'll be interesting to hear what Grace kind of, pointed out in her YouTube video, because like you said, Phan, she does have a lot of connections. So I really, take into consideration a lot of what she says from the entertainment, standpoint in terms of reporting. And like for me, I'm just concerned as a fan. I'm concerned because again, it's like one of those like Kathleen Kennedy things that you have to wonder what is she doing? Like we talk about it all the time, fan, when we talk about Star Wars and we mention Kathleen Kennedy in the same like topic. Like what is she doing? She has no foresight. She has no future thought process of where she wants to take it. It's more or less what's going to make me money. And when they first, I guess, scripted it, like, I guess that's what they wanted to do. No consideration of source material that exists today, no consideration of what is already in the canon, no consideration of doing something different. I'm very concerned because technically her contract ends, in 2021? So what is she doing before she leaves? Like, it makes no sense what she's doing. And why, like, with the success of The Mandalorian, why would you do something like this? I have no idea. Like, and everyone is talking about like how they're looking forward to the Cassian, what's his last name? The series of the guy from Rogue One.
The guy that no one really cared
about. The guy that died. Spoiler for those who haven't seen it. Is it Cassian Andor? So like everyone is so like riled up about it because they're like, based on what we know, what we've seen in The Mandalorian, we have so much to look forward to from a guy we know is going to die eventually. But what I'm saying is like, what is she doing? Because you have, and it's funny because we talked about it last week, Ewan McGregor and I guess he's going to cancel his appearances going forward. He and what's his name? Oh my God, I'm mind blank. Hayden Christensen. They're actually going to be at a con together. So is Disney going to pull the plug on that now too? Because this is the breakdown now. We are having literally a breakdown at Disney Lucas, Star Wars, whatever. So yeah, I take it to you, fan. Give me the scoop because this is troubling.
Well, I mean, I think you hit everything big. I think where sometimes it's not the crime, it's the cover up. And so that was what Grace was pointing out. Like I actually, when the news came out about the Obi Wan delay, I'm going to admit that this is my journey. When I saw it, I said, oh my God, Kathleen Kennedy really is incompetent. And, I didn't read them because I'm like, well, they just really screwed it up. And then I just kind of listened to some of the usual YouTube podcasters, but I think Grace really was really the most really kind of, put it together that the whole Mandalorian feel, the fact that they just, it's so Kathleen Kennedy to have the Mandalorian be what it is, but the Obi-Wan, which if you ask me, if you put Obi-Wan first with the Mandalorian theme of having to watch a kid, which is to your point, Lumpia, which doesn't make sense because Luke, in my impression of episode 4 was Luke knew Obi-Wan, but like he kind of like, it's like an acquaintance or maybe an old, like a distant friend. It was never like a father figure.
Ben. And by the way, he went as Ben. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's my point. Like he's like, oh, it's the old coot, but he's like the old guy that you kind of like, but you like him at arm's length. Like that was my impression. It was like,
that crazy guy that lives at the corner. Yeah,
yes,
that guy.
I know him. I kind of like him, but I don't want to bring him to my house. So I'll just like say hey, talk to him at the corner, and then get the hell. Like that was the impression I had. And the way actually I'm curious about if they went forward with the whole Mandalorian-esque Obi-Wan, how could he be a father figure for Luke when he's, episode 4 kind of established him as the old crazy hermit, right? So that kind of was curious. But that being said, Obi-Wan actually having that Mandalorian theme made more sense Actually, if you even did that, had the same two, actually, it probably would have been acceptable. But to your point, Lumpia, you just reminded me the way episode 4 gave me the impression it was just Obi Wan. I mean, Ben was the
Yeah.
crazy old hermit talking old wizard crap, but I kind of like him. I like to shit the breeze with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we'll have a beer at the corner, but in a public place. I don't want to be alone with the guy.
Yeah, like it's like he never was involved in his life. He would never, in Star Wars, like he would never go and say, "Oh, remember when we used to go fishing? Remember when you took me to Jabba's palace?" Like it was never like that kind of relationship. To be honest.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, Uncle Owen and his Aunt Maru or whatever, like they seem to be like like aunts and aunt.
Yeah,
and
like they
uncle
were just raising him. It was like, you know what, you're like not. They never really mentioned like you were any. Not to sound mean, like they never mentioned how special he was, like that he was the son of, this person or that. Like they just raised him like a normal kid. These are your chores. This is what you're responsible for. Like he literally was just an average Joe.
Yeah.
Like hanging around Tatooine.
Which by the that people forget, Disney Lucasfilms forgets that Luke himself, just because he was born a Skywalker, he was just raised as a normal average Joe. So, we have to, the idea of demasculinizing, taking away the honor of Luke Skywalker is just fascinating how these people really don't know Star Wars. But again, actually, my comment that they don't know Star Wars, the fact that they're making the Obi Wan series about Ben, like raising Luke, he never did.
Yeah, he never did. He never did. In anything, in any sense of the word, it was just that guy. He was that guy who lives over there, the hermit that lives over there, the kook, that guy. He has a reputation. I would have liked to have known how he got to that point. And that's what I thought that the show was going to explore, because he was a character when we saw him through episodes 1 to 3. He was Qui-Gon's apprentice. He was a little hot-headed. Then he evolved into someone who was basically training Anakin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There was some evolution there. So then how does he evolve from that to the hermit kook that we know?
Here's the thing. A lot of the people that are deeper into the Star Wars lore, they often say that Obi-Wan was better at the dueling lightsabers than he was at the Force. So, but the impression we got when we watched episode 4 for the first time was he was really into the if we put it into RPG, he's not a fighter. A lot of the lore people say he was more of a fighter than a wizard.
Yeah.
But the way then when you felt in episode 4, because I guess he was old, he felt more like the wizard than he was the fighter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to have seen that. I think what it should have been, I mean, let's say this is what it should have been, Kathleen. Yeah, he should be popping around checking to make sure no one's messing around with Luke and Uncle the uncle and
Aunt Maru, Uncle Owen, yeah.
I was about to say Uncle Ben, but I don't know why. Too many Bens. But he should be going around the galaxy trying to find all the Darth Vader spies that are trying to find his son and snuffing them out before they even get close to Tatooine. That's probably what they should have done. But in Kathleen's infinite wisdom, she cannot manage multiple projects to make sure that they all tie together.
Yeah, it's that lack of foresight of the future. What does the future mean? What's the long-term, in business, what's the long-term plan? And then how do you get there? What innovations do you launch? What things do you take to get you to that point? Because, you know as well as I do, some companies delay innovation because the world isn't ready for it yet. But how do you get them ready? So if she needs to bring something earth shattering to the Star Wars universe, don't just do it in one, just bring us on the journey, Kathleen. But yeah, to your point, it's exactly what you said. I am just really shocked that this is what she I don't even give her credit for the Mandalorian, even though she's on there. But that one to me was a winner. But this makes me doubt everything now about Disney Plus. I'm sorry. I had so many high hopes.
I wasn't excited because what they were trying to do is hooking you to it saying Disney, but that's probably the reason why, for example, they're rushing the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel. I know, I mean, we never talked about it, but there was rumors that, or I think there was an article that they are starting production for She-Hulk because the new content to lock you into Disney Plus is not there, and they hooked people like you who bought the 3-year pack. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which I kind of warned you. I was like, maybe you might want to do the finesse. But no, probably it was technically a good deal if they delivered. But yeah, it's the first off, the issue was, again, Disney Lucasfilms, the best shot they have at getting the fans to be interested was going to the past. And then, they had more successes with shows that were in the past before within the original trilogies, the 2 trilogies. And then they finally figured out how to screw that up with the Obi Wan thing, where while Mandalorian was being worked on, it didn't dawn on her to check in on the Obi Wan script and say, "Oh crap, this is like the Mandalorian." And then number 2, going up there with Ewan McGregor and saying, "Hey, we're gonna do the Obi Wan." It's like, wait a minute. You got to say, you can't announce that and then pull it back. The genie's out the bottle on that one. So all the fans that were salivating at the idea of Disney trying to get some base hits, they just whiffed. They whiffed on a fast, like a slow fastball, man. It was just, sorry for the sports terms, but it's just right there for at least a double with Ewan McGregor. And I think too, what I wanted to get into, the whole cover-up thing, where take a look at the Grace Randolph video for the audience, and I'll put the link in the description. It's so interesting how she talks about like Vanity Fair and Collider. When they first published these things, it's kind of a bit more as a damage control. But when you read into the lines, like the idea that they fired the staff, no, I'm sorry. They didn't fire the staff. They were told that they were on hold and their contracts were released. Means that you may get the same staff to film it, but because their contracts are released, meaning if the schedule doesn't fit, they must have quit. I mean, they must poor joke. They won't work on it. And they're kind of saying, "Oh, it's not that bad. And then it's just like, yeah, it's indefinitely delayed. I just saw in the GameStop article that was there, they're saying, "Oh, Ewan McGregor has spoken to GameSpot." And actually he's saying it's less dramatic. They're not delaying because of the scripts were bad, but they're just pushing back the dates to give everyone more time.
Damage control.
January 2021 is when it's going to start again. And I'm like, this is really bad. Like, they really need a better PR person to handle this because, man, it's just like sounds so disjointed like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And you know what? I don't know why Bob Iger, for all of his successes for Disney, he needs to just bite the bullet and fire Kathleen Kennedy. I know the people on Twitter are going to say a white male fired a woman who is, because they're going to point to the billions of dollars that each film made. Because yes, the Rise of Skywalker, which again, I don't know what Skywalker rose because they all died by the hands of a Palpatine. But it made $1 billion.
Spoiler.
Yeah, can you believe that? At the end of the day, the
Palpatine
series,
won in a weird
Palpatine
way.
won.
He did. The balance was Palpatine.
Yeah, what was the point? What was the point of the Skywalkers when at the end of the day the Palpatine won?
Exactly. We
But
don't.
like the irony was, it was the son who the Palpatine's son. I'm sorry, I'm going back to this. Palpatine's son was Rey's father, but then they made it that the person that was talking on behalf of the parents was the mother, because in typical Disney fashion, it has to be.
They really could have done so much with it, even cheesy. Like they could have gone full cheese and said the balance is if Rey and Kylo end up together, that's the balance. Because now there's no more of that bad blood, because the blood of whatever children they have will be together. So like they could have even done that cheese factor, and a lot of people who were doing the shipping around that would have loved it. And
Oh my
even
god! If you follow that, I hear that these like Raylo people are nuts.
they are, I don't follow it at all, but I know there's a lot of shippers out there, and like I will say, like they could have gone that way and
It
said,
would have been
you know what?
acceptable.
People would have eaten that up and believed it because it is balance.
Actually, you're right, because if they had a kid, then actually this is what he could have done. The dark and the light merged together, and I'm actually going to say Rey is the dark, and Ben is the light. And I'm sorry for the feminists out there, but Ben is from the Skywalkers and Rey is from the Palpatines, so deal with it. And you have gray Jedi's.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
Which is part of the EU.
Like,
so
you really, you know what I'm saying? It would have been acceptable to me. And that would have been the cheesiest way to end it, but you know what? It would have made sense from a sort of balanced perspective. But I digress. So yeah, back to what you were saying. So this cover up.
Oh, basically, yeah. I mean, it's the cover up, right? Like you got even McGregor trying to play damage control, and I think to me that's worse. Just stop. Just don't say that you're gonna start filming in January 2021, because guess what? If I think it, like when I had at work, I had a senior leader tell me you only get one major delay with a good reason. Any more delays, it's really bad. So you shouldn't have said January 2021. You should have said, look, we're trying to make this as the best possible Obi Wan script for the Star Wars fans. We want to make them happy, so we decided to take a pause, reflect, or some kind of jazz to make us feel like they're really just trying to make sure it's done right. Because God, man, by the time Ewan McGregor is actually all grayed up and stuff, we probably are not gonna be, he's not gonna. What is it gonna be like, Mark Hamill? You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stop there. Like,
no, but wait, I do want to go back to the comment you made about Kathleen Kennedy and Iger. I agree with you to an extent, and I'm a female. There's nothing feminist about it. The person isn't doing their job. That period. When you take away the gender, the preference, the way you identify, at the end of the day, if you're not doing a job that you were brought in to do, then you've got to basically be prepared to either fix it or, be prepared to have them escort you out. So I think, gender and everything aside, as a person, as a producer or executive, clearly she's not fitting the bill, and it's very evident in how this was handled. So, to your point, he could let her go in a very respectable way by giving her less control. Like he could literally just say she's taking a step back and being a consulting person until she finishes her contract, or like could be transitioning for the next person in the interim. Like think of it, like don't give her the full year to ruin it before she leaves.
Like, they don't have to even say she's fired. Just find the successor, and just to say she or you can Bob Iger have connections. Find her a job. Like find her a job. and then let her go off to the sunset. And in the background, the 3-year deal you gave her, you can pay it to her as hush money, and then you both could go your separate ways. I get it. You really want to show the world that you're all about equality and stuff, but this the ineptitude
Yep.
is quite fascinating that a man of Bob Iger who knows how to run a business suddenly believes he's trapped by a platform known as Twitter and all the people in Twitter that's 1% of the population. Like, I'm sorry, you got a business to run. Those nerds, those male fat people that you hate in Star Wars fandom, they're the ones with the money, and they're the ones with the enthusiasm, and they're the ones with that are willing to buy $300 statues. So cater to them. I'm just kidding. My point. You get my point, Lumpia. I'm just like,
Yeah,
you're
no,
not these toxic people.
listen to the people, because this is the people that matter, I guess, is what I'm saying.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I get it. Like, so, to your point, I think that's the piece that, clearly, I'm looking at a lot of these things that we talk about from a business standpoint. If that were my business, what would I do? Clearly, in any business, regardless of gender or whatever, there are ways to get someone removed from their seat of power. We all know this. So, it happens every day in every business. So I don't know why no one is taking up the courage to do it and end the pain, because the people who really are the ones that you want to be, eating up all of this stuff are the people who are sadly not happy, because they are the ones that you are like forgetting about, in all of this social media, like social sort of commentary that you have to basically kowtow to. And you don't have to, because in the past, no one has had to. And that's the part. But
Yeah.
anyway, I will leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and forever, but let's wrap up this episode. So, want to pause and say thank you to all our listeners as we bring dark to light on pop culture, comics, gaming, and more. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell your friends and leave us constructive feedback. Also, for those listening on YouTube, please leave a like, comment, and please subscribe. So for more content as we, enter the new year and try to ramp up and deal with all this crazy Kathleen Kennedy stuff, and also some hopeful good news like comics and all that other fun stuff.
Yep.
That being said, we definitely want to hear from you, so please reach to us through the comments section or at our email at SithJusticeWarriorsPodcast@email.com or at our Twitter handle at JusticeSith. Also, links to the articles referred to are in the description, so check it out and reach out to us with your thoughts. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Sith side. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.